From 120 feet below the Earth's surface here in Welchman Hall, St. Thomas, I'm Sherwood McCaskey welcoming you to Art Out of Nature, Harrison's Cave, Barbados. In last week's program, we began a look at the excavation work to develop the tunnels, from the first chipping away to the first breakthrough where the upper Great Hall was exposed to the village and onto the Rotunda Room. From the Rotunda Room, the work continued to the Explorer's Pool. Having exposed the natural entrance and created a pool, the excavation continued onto Twin Falls until it opened up into the lower Great Hall. It is from this point that we pick up the discussion with David Carrington as he talks about the skills required to maneuver the trucks and the challenges associated with reducing the high levels of water that were impeding his progress in this area.
This was another loading bay here for the trucks. We would drive the trucks down, turn around, park over here, trucks facing out. Pompey then, he would load all the debris from that area onto the truck, then we would transport it out onto the car park. But what was amazing, all the water from upstream, because you know I said to you in the initial stages that all the water was on the road. So all the water from upstream then made its way to this point. So you remember now that the height of the rock face, so it formed a pool with all the sediment. But we had a large GMC truck with a big tank. So we would reverse the truck into the pool, put in the hose, suction, fill up the sludge, transport it out to the car park. By that time, the water level lower. Pompey then, he would come and start again. We removing the debris, loading the trucks. By that time, remember, water still coming down and rising, so we had to abandon that, use the pump with the truck again until we get way, way down.
Now understand that what you now see here in this area is absolutely nothing to compare with what David Carrington and the workmen came upon at this point of time in the cave. Yet another challenging job, which these brave men sought to overcome and were successful in doing so. It was a very narrow passage through which the explorers, Tony Mason, Ole Sorensen, and of course the enslaved crawl to reach all the way down to Cascade Pool. David Carrington now carefully details how they were able to create what you now enjoy today in this area.
Just about here, right across. Way down was solid rock face. The solid rock face. So the tractors then, the truck surveyors had to dig out all the rock face to lower it, to gain entrance beyond that area.
Now, quite similar to the strip of rock on the upper Great Floor discussed in our last program, one wonders about the dexterity required of these men to maneuver the tank filled with sludge in this small area here and allow them to drive to the surface so that Noel Boyce and others could continue with the tunneling.
And as you would know, we're digging out the rock face all the time, so there's no way you can go forward. So here's, you have to reverse now, turn around here and reverse. Never ticklish job. Remember, passageway are narrow, you can't stick your head out to the left nor to the right. You had to just concentrate on the two front fenders, left and right fenders, and steer, and just reverse. Saw people enough coming around from this job, man. So much so that, you know the truck I told you about, the big GMC that we had with the tank, when you leave the lower level, it had a one gear that never ran out. It was gasoline as well. And your march and the revs never really peak. But you couldn't change the second gear, because the moment you change the second gear and your vehicle go forward with that sludge in the tank and come back, you're horsing. If the Range Rover or the Land Rover is on the outside, they will reverse, hustle, pull you down, then you continue. So no late changing. If you're in one gear, remain in one. If you're in second, remain in second. But most of the times, we used to be in one gear. I remember anybody in the tunnel, the green truck coming out, the green truck coming out. Yeah, you ain't got no room for me, boy.
Rivalry more often than not could lead to increased productivity. We have all heard stories of this on work sites all around the world. This site was no exception. Quite funny one might add is the experience of Noel Boys. The workers took every effort to ensure that the overhead formations were left intact. Now, David Carrington did speak about having to lower the ground level in this area to preserve those overhead formations for subsequent visitors to the cave, so that these, of course, could enjoy them. However, in performing this task, the undesired did occur. Noel Boys tells the story about a little rivalry experienced on the job and what was responsible for the loss of a few formations overhead in this section.
What caused that? The fella that he bring on to help, that's after the cave, after I cut through. I can remember he telling me the evening, up in the same place right there, that the rock stone, the road had a met. I remember Sarson telling me that this fella coming over, so he could just tell him what to do. Tell him something. So I know I work with fella. The fella feed his king to me. And I know he ain't gonna hear me. So when he getting up on the left, when he getting up on the right, just saying hi. And he move. You know, I know him. What he trying to do down below there is to do more in me. And he taking up too much stuff in the bucket. And the bucket tilting and licking off the things. And the next morning, Sarson called me and said, boys, come here. I was in the above place, right, the big lot of, up with the money. I was working up there. He called me, we walked down. And he told me, boys, what would Braffett do next? But he didn't know that Braffett want to do more with me. So he took up a bucket too full. And when he raised it, it rake off the formations. And I know Sarson didn't like that there. So I keep away from them kind of thing. They take up a little half bucket, reverse back, and it was all right.
Noel Boys, who clearly understood the task at hand and his responsibility of preserving the natural beauty of the cave. Now, having completed the tunneling in this area, the workmen proceeded.
Out that side where we got to go now is harder than where we come from, because you know the water run down there and got it like a glass lake. So hard. I know one time I was digging and I take a breather, and when I look against me, it's a rock stone. It's a rock stone, so long so, and flat and sharp. So all I do is next time I dig different, more caution, right?
As you can see today, Noel Boys dug cautiously like a true artisan. The result of his workmanship in this section of the cave was not the mere excavated walls with the expected exposure, but a buildup of calcium, known today as flowstone. This dispelled a widely held belief about the number of years that is required for such to form.
This is an area here that you were not allowed to touch. I mean, with the tractor, the truck, nothing. This just built up like this over the years. Because as the young people tell, don't get that. You remember this was the thing. So like after Pompey came in and he dug out all the rock face, the water then started to run along this rock face now from beyond the wall. And as you know, all this here built up, all the calcite built up. And this became one of the main features in the cave. As I tell you, it takes X amount of years for something to grow, but evidence proved that the route because that really developed over the years, past 30 years.
Now, from the phreatic zone, the work continued right down to this point here outside of Mirror Lake. Now, Mirror Lake is somewhat like the road which leads off the Rotunda Room. It was part of the original plans to have the trams traverse this area. However, those plans had to be abandoned because of the sediment here.
We call it Mirror Lake. In the initial stages, this area was supposed to be the route that the trams would normally take, but the corner over there was pretty sharp, so it wouldn't be easy then to maneuver. And then all the silt that came from upstream found its way around that corner as well. So it was, a matter of fact, a guy, he came here, he was the architect on the building, so he came and he decided, well, he's going to take a walk. Went right down to here. Yeah. Yeah, he got about this. It's all silt like this, right? Mm-hmm. Because all the sediment that came from upstream, that eventually was deposited in that area. Like all this was dug out by the tractor from there right around here. But like I said, after the sediment came from upstream, then it was deposited in here. It was too soggy and different things for any vehicular traffic, plus the sharp angles over that end as well.
This is one of the reasons why this program has been conceptualized, to celebrate the tremendous contribution of brave men like Tony Mason, Ole Sorensen, David Carrington, Noel Boyce, and others. Those brave men who stayed the course, who persisted, who allowed thousands of Barbadians and visitors alike to enjoy art out of nature. Now, you would imagine that having had to change the course because of the sediment in the area, the alternative route might have presented some major challenges. Once again, these brave men accepted the challenges and performed courageously.
So we had to abandon that and hit this one. Solid rock again. So just imagine you're digging the truck park at the lower level of the Great Hall because it can't come in forward, no backward. Tractor can't turn. So there goes Bumpy again. Digging, reversing, right out, loading, backing. We worked 11 and a half hours a day.
But this side was harder, so I think it lost some parts to it. Lost the final drive break down about 3 to 4 times. So I started to get scared. I said, I must be making mistakes. So I asked the plant track manager, a fella called Benaby. I asked him who the fault is. When he tell me it ain't my fault. It is the tractor that doing it. It isn't the right tractor. So when you can turn a corner and it's soft, it's all right. But when you can turn a corner and it's hard, and you release the clutch, it make a sudden thing, and you get parts break up. It might take a week or so to get repaired.
The parts were repaired and reassembled, and Noel Boyce continued with the tunneling all the way down to the final point of interest on the tour. Wow. Now, as he was tunneling away to what he thought was that point, he was interrupted by Ole Sorensen, whose expertise guided him in entering what is known today as the Cascade area.
I can remember one night, Sorensen tell me, boys, take it light. You got about 80-something more feet to cut, so cut with caution. And they going down, they started to cut. And Sarson come down, he could hear boots coming down. Come down and tell me, no, don't stop where he is. He came back from the books. He went out on the books and come back and tell me it's about 30-something feet. And I just do what he tell me.
In all, it was an intricate operation that required careful planning and scheduling. Back on the surface was the office, where detailed instructions about the operation were given and kept. David Carrington remembers well his supervisors and how their style of management worked to the benefit of all.
We worked with Gina and Russell Gurney. They had eight experts with them as well. And what they would normally do, they would come and identify an area that they want some work done to that area. And like I said, you were your own boss. They knew quite well that it should take at least a day. Around 4 o'clock, they would come down, look at it, and following day, they would call you in the office, name, if you got an alias, a nickname or whatever, this is your duties for today. You go, you perform it. If it would take if in their opinion it take 2 days, you won't see them for 2 days. But at the end of the second day, look out, they're coming. You know, so like I said, everybody was their own boss, man.
This is the 1970s. You are working in rural Barbados. It is a hard and strenuous job. And this cave project is not the traditional Barbadian job. It required mental and physical skills and, of course, the nourishment of the body. One wonders if David Carrington and other workers were on any special meal plan. We also wonder about their lunch hours.
Lunch wasn't a big thing where we were concerned. The idea was to get the job done, you know, and there weren't a set lunch hour per se. You know, everybody was their own boss. We knew exactly what we had to do because we did a lot of control blasting. So we had guys using the drills for the blasting, fellas for planting the dynamite and different things. So when their job were completed, then, you know, they just come out or whatever. But as to your question, as any set lunch or whatever, we didn't. No special diet or nothing like that. We just, like I said, most of us were young and restless, and we never really, you know, no special diet. We just tried to get the job done as soon as possible, you know.
For the entire project, there was one caterpillar being used. In the initial stages, it was used by Noel Boys, who bore through to the first point of interest, the Upper Great Hall, hence the naming of that area of the tunnel after him. Eventually, the planners decided to bring on another worker and started a shift system. Noel Boys talks about his hours of work and how that shift system worked back then.
I work from 9 o'clock till 9:30 daytime. So when I'm ready to come up 9:30 morning, I bring it up. Another fella cat down.
Oh, okay. Oh, so y'all work shifts?
Shift, yeah, shift.
Okay. So it's continuous work?
Continue.
Okay.
So it was only one caterpillar working at a time?
One caterpillar, right. When I first started, it was only my one. But then the other fella, we only had a fella called as a day, we want it done.
Now that you have a better sense of what it took to create a passageway so that you could enjoy the artifacts of this, the eighth wonder of the modern world, I am sure you would agree with me that these are indeed the unsung heroes of Harrison's Cave, the foundation of which is built by their labor and strong will.
A lot of hard and dirty work, but we enjoyed it. Mud, sweat, and occasionally tears. But I remember, you can recall, you come out to get a bath in the evening, or so you take off your jean pants. And the amount of mud that is in that pants, it could actually stay up straight like a scarecrow. I might sound like a stranger, but yes, it did happen. So much mud and dirt. Well, it was amazing those days. We worked some 11 and a half hours, but we made fun of it. And we weren't confined just to one job. We even had a saying that Ole Sorensen took good men and mashed them up, meaning then that if you are a truck driver, you should be able to know something about electrical work. You should know something about masonry, carpentry, because his argument was there was going to be a time then there won't be a need for a truck driver. But instead of going home, you can go and work with the carpenter or the electrician because you have some skills.
Meanwhile, the neighbors overhead are eagerly anticipating the completion of the project and the day when their neighborhood would become a showpiece to the world. They would visit regularly to see the progress inside the cave.
On evenings, after we come home from work or whatever, we would walk into the cave. We would walk and see how far they got, because we have friends there. You know, they come on, come. They didn't stop anybody from really coming in as such, but you know, it's at your own risk. But you know, they allow you to come in, and so I used to see the progress of it from the time it was just the boring of the hole, the tunnel, till when it got right down at the end. And it's only then that they started limiting people from coming in and things like that.
Phase 1 having been completed, which consisted of the boring of the tunnels, the operation moved into the second phase. Tony Mason explains what was involved in that phase.
After the tunnel was completed, then we went into phase 2, was like paving the roads. We had board ceilings and board partitions to avoid the smut from the tractors. So we finished the tunnel first, and after this was completed, we continued with this board stuff to stop the formations from being contaminated and darkened from the start of the tractors.
In addition to this, the electrical work had to be done. Several dams were developed by Jack Birch. This all required very careful planning. The pathway throughout the cave is now paved. The artifacts are displayed for all to see. However, the cave is not quite ready to receive the public.
Then the cave closed down for what? 9 months for a feasibility study. A fellow by the name of F.L. Cozy. He used to live there in Culloden Road. And he was one of the men that I remember too that played an integral role in this. And he said to me, well, Pinks, this cave going to close for 9 months for a feasibility study. If you want to go and look for a job, that's where do, but I would advise you to remain, so then that when we reopen, you would be first on the calendar. So I remained. We work as another truck driver, a fellow by the name of Keith Best. The two of us remain, and we watch. We played watchman for the 9 months on weekends. So we still on the player role, and when the cave would reopen then in 1981, we were first on the list. So you can see I came from truck driver, welder, auto body repairman, tour guide, driver, you name it, I did it.
People will say, it's in the alley. We call it the Alley View, the alley. And I was very pleased that there was some good that was coming from Allen View, where people had come up from all over the world and visit my area, just in my backyard. So I used to feel very proud. Yes, for when it was being built, the noise and the trucks and things like coming up through by us, and it was being, you felt a bit uneasy and things like that. But we knew it was for our own good. It was for the good of the country, and we accepted it.
And that's why I said, boy, for the staff that risked their life out of here for the 5 years, boy, should be really commended for Job well done. 11 and a half hours a day. No broken limbs, nothing.
These were workmen whose philosophy on the job here at Harrison's Cave was crystallized in the national motto of Barbados, pride and industry, or put differently, industrious men who took pride in every aspect of their work as they remained focused and determined, and in so doing risked their lives to open up the heart of Barbados. These are men who today, and rightly so, feel a sense of special ownership of this natural wonder, men whose contribution are celebrated and whose names ought to be emblazoned throughout this cave and never forgotten. This has been Art Out of Nature, Harrison's Cave, Barbados. I'm Sherwood McCaskey.